Let's fail together. And this time, let's do a colored pencil drawing. So colored pencil is something that I used to work with a lot more back in school, but lately I've been very heads down with making my collages, which is the medium I usually work in. I make collages entirely from magazine cutouts. But with this particular series, I really want to break outside of my comfort zone, try new things, experiment with different mediums, and just embrace the mess of trying something new, trying something different. So colored pencils are definitely a whole different beast compared to collage, but I'm really glad that I focused on something different, focused on something new. And with this composition that I worked on, it's actually inspired by a few snapshots that I took when I was doing the Great Saunter earlier this year. And if you're not familiar with the Great Saunter, it's this event in New York City where people walk the perimeter of Manhattan, which is about 32 miles. So this is kind of representing, just like capturing a moment from the Great Saunter.
Here are the materials that I used for this particular project. This is the sketchbook I used. Again, I went with a spiral-bound sketchbook as opposed to a book-bound one. It's just the type that I prefer. And here is the colored pencil set. I was working with a limited set to challenge me to work with layering those colors to kind of get the right color palette I was going for. Here I am sketching out the composition. If I were to revisit this project, I would have spent a little bit more time with that initial sketch, just because the road itself was a little off-centered, which kind of didn't look the way I wanted to in the end. Here I am blocking out the different colors. I really enjoyed working on this piece because it just brought back memories from when I did the Great Saunter, which was a pretty amazing and tiring day. It really forced you to slow down and take a look at the city from a completely different perspective. It was just a really great experience. And here I am adding in some shadows. I worked with layering cooler colors for those shadows. A lot of the shadows are pretty abstract and just really quickly sketched out. That's sort of how I approached the entire composition itself. Just kind of playing around with the medium itself, not trying to blend things in too much. I think if I were to revisit this, I would work on more of a still life composition. I think that would allow me to kind of go into more detail with more simplistic shapes. And in here you can see the highlights that I added. There's some orange in the tree trunks, some yellow in the grass, as well as the leaves of the trees. I really enjoyed working with the different layers, but I don't know how I feel about all the shapes of the composition. And here's the finished piece.
I'd say I'm okay with how this turned out. I'm proud of myself for trying something different, but I would approach the medium a little bit differently next time. However, I enjoyed embracing the mess of trying something different, and I'm looking forward to what we experiment with next time.